Lately, many of my newer followers have asked me what my ideas for change beyond using mimetic language to spread white positivity, that kind of thing, can be done to quote-unquote save our people, or to fight back against the seemingly hopeless situations that we're in. I don't like to be black-pilled. I've been doing my best to shower everyone with white pills this year, but my positivity is not unwarranted, and there is a method to my madness, I promise. My answer to such a line of questioning isn't simple or easy. There's no solution, no magic bullet we can use to fix generations of Marxism, globalism, and other anti-Western, anti-white cancer that affects us today. Anybody who says they have such a thing is either ignorant, misguided, or lying to you. The following scripted dissertation is a concise and about as simple as I can make of an answer to the question, what can we do? So please, I invite you to listen, because I believe we can all work on improving our situation, fight back against decades of encroachment by those who would destabilize us and ruin us, without having to take arms against the government, without having to do anything violent, and without even having to do anything forceful. I believe that what I put forward has value, and the points of my upcoming presentation should ring true to you. So without further ado, often philosophers and commentators like me talk about the change we want to see without proffering how-tos. I seek to eliminate that failing for my contribution to the discourse, so I have prepared a small collection of ideas on how to nonviolently and consensually move towards a more unified nation and fight back against mass immigration and globalism. All the ideas I share here would ideally be organized by local statute and then reach widespread national usage or ratification by federal government. I also don't recommend any of these ideas be implemented in a permanent fashion, such as indefinite duration on legislation. The goal of these ideas is to wean us off foreign goods, migrant labor, and work visas, not simply replace one broken wage slave system with another. Additionally, while being rather anti-government myself, I am a realist, and to proactively work towards nonviolent change, we must work with what we have. So the following ideas require protest, activism, and voting on behalf of those of us who wish to see changes made to our current system. The promoting of nationalism in general. Pay attention to local elections and local politics. This is where we can make the most change in the short term. Educate yourself on local statutes and local officials. They are more responsive to feedback and activism than state government officials are. Participate in your community. Build connections via work, sports, school, etc. Make your nation better on the small scale. Work to be the change you wish to see. Choose a like-minded mate and commit to him or her. Have more than one child. Be a good parent. Instill truth and good values into your children. And by all means, don't send them to daycare or public school. Participate in local swap meets, small businesses, raffles, charity donation drives. Anything you can do to network with those around you who share similar values and ethnicity. You want to make your local community better. You want to embolden what is already good around you. And if you don't see any, be the change you want. Start those kind of things yourself and see who comes to you. Refuse government handouts and welfare programs if at all possible. Lead by example in how you use local and federal government. Practice what you preach. This makes you not only a good parent, but a stand-up member of your local community and the kind of person that others around you want to be like. An important one, we need to learn to use social media for nationalism and community building. Network with like-minded people near you and set up community events to campaign, protest, boost awareness for whatever you think is important. And doing that will not only help you make friends, it will give you the necessary connections you need to feel strong as a community and work together on seeing change implemented in the small scale around you, which will turn into large-scale change further up the chain. A critically important one that I've come to in my older years is the use of positive language and wholesome ethics. Speak about inclusion, living healthy lifestyles, the positive values of the American Constitution, the positive values of Christianity. Speak highly and in a positive manner about the good elements of the culture that reared you, instead of speaking negatively about those who you wish to keep out. Read books and listen or watch content by nationalist authors and content creators. Break free of the establishment lies and spread truth. primarily about immigration and crime statistics, but also with news stories that the mainstream media chooses not to cover even though they should. Namely, these are hush crimes, or crimes where the particular ethnicity or demographics don't match the narrative. These are very important to spread awareness on because it helps fight against the framework upon which the other lies are hung. These 9 things can all be useful and implemented on a small scale. Some tips about how to accomplish these would be when you make community connections, form yourself into some kind of modern information militia, like a community watch mixed with a old-timey community defense militia. This doesn't require guns or a barracks or anything like that, but you can form communities through social media and meeting up in person, specifically with those who share your language and religion, so you can keep eyes and ears on what goes on around you and report to each other. This helps us not only escape having to rely on the news and the local police for our information and protection, but it also fosters the kind of nation, the kind of future that I think that we all want to live in, which is, of course, free from big mama government and free from the heel of local authority. Another thing that we can do to aid in these points is to provide personal donations and charity support to those who share your values and your native ethnicity. Donations and charity are not bound by federal equality and diversity edicts near as much as anything in the private sector. Therefore, we can use these community incentives and free market forces of supply and demand to push out things that we don't want while encouraging the things we do want. For example, donation and charity-based unemployment and food assisting, temporary housing, and all the benefits ran by local communities and church groups, they can work with the social media networks we create to prioritize the people that we think are more valuable and to deprioritize the people that we think would be bad faith actors or are simply of a type that we don't want being encouraged to be part of the local community. Limiting and discouraging legal immigration is perhaps even more important of a fight in America and the United Kingdom than fighting illegal immigrants. I proffer the following. Offer all immigrants a one-way plane ticket, $1,000 per adult and $2,000 per child that they take, as well as freedom from domestic debts, which of course would have to be up for debate. This is all contingent on them signing a document saying that they are not eligible for visa or citizenship for a period of years. I ballpark 10 to 20 is a good number of years to put on that statute. Moving on. Those who have committed violent crimes are offered immediate freedom if they accept a one-way ticket back to where they came from and an agreement to not return. Perhaps only 10 or 20 years, but I also would be willing to say signing an agreement for life for violent criminals to not return. Creation of donation drives, charities, and tax breaks to those who contribute to groups or offer money to the government to help pay for the above costs. We can do that by having tax breaks or offering certain types of tax matches or local community drive matches to charities that offer to create a pool through which communities do this. Let's say your community has a very active series of churches and small community businesses. They can all chip in and create a $100,000 or $200,000 immigrant repatriation fund to offer to people that are immigrants in your area to leave. It's completely nonviolent, it's positive-minded, and what's best, it's consensual on all fronts. No one's forcing anyone to do anything. But it sends the message that we want to create this place for like-minded Native people that share values, religion, ethnicity, and while we are not going to violently oppose you, we would prefer if you would leave, so we're going to offer you a gift if you do. Moving on. Placing both a state and federal maximum on legal immigration per capita, and except for rare or critical cases, no legal immigration can occur in a state or nation that has reached its maximum. I recommend a per capita maximum of 5% or less. This effectively halts all legal immigration for at least a generation in the UK and the United States. It also sets a good precedent for keeping nations mostly unified and homogeneous going forward. Provide business and market incentives to companies willing to halt visa programs. Limit international outsourcing and bringing back industry that was moved abroad. Work visa ideas. Provide direct tax breaks to companies who are willing to forego work visas entirely and only hire citizens. Provide both tax and regulatory incentives to businesses who have local recruitment campaigns. And finally, provide tax incentives to businesses and a mix of benefit and wage match incentives for employees who are hired via local outreach and recruitment campaigns. This dovetails nicely with what I talked about earlier about donations and charities contributing to enforcing we would prefer not to have immigrants and would prefer to uplift those who already live here type of thing. Now we move on to illegal aliens. We'll start with labor. Divert tax money from federal departments that need to be trimmed or dropped towards the personnel required to enforcing existing laws on companies who utilize illegal alien labor. Also, divert military budget to do the same, because this will be easy to accomplish in the short term via executive order. That's in the United States. As for the UK, I can't speak as to who can determine how to divvy up your military budget. But in America, this would work nicely. Moving on. Both local and federal focus on employee documentation, both better enforcing existing laws as well as creating new systems of oversight to guarantee illegal aliens are not only kept from employment, but are tracked and added to some kind of local or federal system so they can quickly be found and shown the door. Placing financial punitive measures on businesses who make use of illegal alien labor, not in the way of petty fines which can easily be paid, but a scaling series of fines and then sanctions on the business itself for repeat offense. And now moving to the final segment of things that I proffer to make change, ending illegal immigration. Divert funds from related or bloated federal departments, or executive order diverted military funds, as I talked about earlier, to bolster already extant systems for policing and removing illegal aliens, such as ICE. Create new systems in the private sector for locating, identifying, and reporting illegal aliens to the authorities. This can work on donations and charity, as I outlined above, or it could even be professional, such as bondsmen and bounty hunters work with local police and local judiciary. Form community networks who actively seek to expose illegal aliens and those who facilitate them. Sort of like a mix of Night Watch and civilian security team, but focused on collecting information willingly provided by those in their communities. This information can be shared via social media or privately among others, with the end result being the community keeps tabs on who does and doesn't belong and shares that information with the local authorities. Within the confines of the law, do not allow those unwilling to provide identification, unwilling to participate in local religious and/or traditional customs, or those who are unwilling or unable to speak English fluently to participate in community activities or local volunteer and religious events. Report those unwilling to local community networks as possible illegal aliens or those who facilitate illegal aliens. And finally, eliminate local and federal tax benefits that house and feed illegal aliens. Instead, divert that money to those who would actively search and identify the illegal aliens, as well as using that money for a one-way ticket to send them back from where they came.
And there we have it. My ideas about what we can all do to fix our broken societies boil down as simply as I can make it. I know it wasn't an easy answer, but it's not an easy question. Do you agree with me? Are there points you feel I've left out? Do you strongly disagree with some of the things I laid out today? Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll keep the conversation going. Keep heart, everyone. Working together, we can do great things.